Richard Johnson, thanks for joining us. We're here on a glorious sunny day at Lord's, training ahead of the game against Kent this coming weekend. Obviously you spoke to Kevin Hand at the close of the Derbyshire game, which ended on Monday, so not a huge reflection on that, but just talk us through your thoughts on a really well-earned battling performance and a well-earned draw on day 4.
Yeah, look, as I said to Kev, it's frustrating from our point of view because we obviously go into every game thinking with our side that we've got, we should win every game. That's our mentality. So to win the toss up there on what we felt was a bit of juice in the wicket for us early on, and for them to get 470 was not part of the plan, obviously. And we felt we just missed out on key moments, which I know I've spoken about a couple of times already this year, how we turn those key moments into our favour. And I know I've spoken about, 220 for 5, letting Martin off the hook at that point, suddenly 220 for 6, a few overs at the bowlers that night. Suddenly the game can reflect very differently if you take advantage of that. We also then had a chance in the following morning, wasn't given. But yeah, those are the small margins where the game can change very quickly. Then we had a poor session and a half, I'd say, where we obviously tired towards the back end of that innings and they got away from us a little bit. So that was a frustration from our point of view as a group. Not once did we think we were going to come up against getting some sort of positive result from the game. Even on day 2, we were still talking about how we win the game from there. And we carried that on all the way through, to be honest. We never felt we'd get bowled out. We were comfortable with the draw, but we're just all disappointed that we didn't force the game to win it, basically.
It's always nice to see a player leave the club and go on to prosper elsewhere.
Is it?
Not always quite so nice when it's against us. But a quick word on Martin. Obviously, he wasn't in our plans moving forward, but we know he's a good cricketer. And I guess it was almost inevitable he'd score runs against us.
Yeah, look, you're right. I think it shows our strength that someone like Martin can leave and go and do well elsewhere, but when he's not getting a look in and outside. And I think that's right. He played nicely. We know he's a good cricketer. But he was a backup player for us with Higgy obviously as our main all-rounder, bringing Zafar in as well as another all-rounder. So yeah, for him to go there and do as well as he's done is great for him and us as a club, and that's what we want to see.
Jono, let's focus on the toss, which is obviously a key component of every game. You've got tough decisions as coach and captain to make at the outset of a game. We win the toss again up in Derby and choose to bowl. What were you thinking? What was your thinking around that? Obviously, I guess you thought there was a little bit in the wicket early on. Perhaps you could expand upon that. Yeah,
look, there's different ways of winning games of cricket. Obviously, we tend to bowl a lot first because we feel that's our, as a team, best way. But as I've said previously, with Zafar in your team now, as a senior spinner, you don't mind bowling last on wickets as well. That particular one, we knew it was a hybrid. We knew there was 8 mils of grass on the wicket. The data, the scores at that ground over the last couple of years has been you get more runs batting second than you do batting first. That's just data that's presented to you. You turn up, you see the wicket, you talk to the players, the senior players, you talk to the other coaching staff. There wasn't anybody that was saying we need to bat first on there. No. And look, quite often when you win a toss and bowl, it's not always about this is going to be a bit of a snake pit where it's darting around all over the place and we look to roll them for 80 or 90. This is about, can we bowl them out for 300? Then we have the best period of the game, which is the middle couple of days, to then try and go above them and build a really good score with our great batting lineup that we have. And then obviously then you're looking to bowl last. That's the perfect game. That's what you're trying to do sometimes when you decide to bowl first. There are other times where, at Lord's especially, you know that the best time to bowl at the ground is quite often on that first morning. Sometimes it can be overheads, but sometimes you just look at the wicket, you know you're going to get the best out of it early on. So there's lots of different things that you weigh up. There's data that you take in. There's the opinion of other senior members. So yeah, it's a mixture of everything. We felt there was enough in that wicket for us to make inroads. And as I said, if we'd picked up on those key moments, decision goes your way a little bit, you're talking about bowling out for 320. I think it's a different game if you're doing that.
Again, I suppose it does come back to your point of grabbing those key moments. You get Martin at the end of day 1 when I think he was on 6 when he was put down 240 for 6 makes it a very different game. You're then rolling them for 300, 320,
Yeah,
and your game plan's fully into play. But
Absolutely.
I guess missed opportunities cost us. But one thing you raised there, John, I was playing on a hybrid wicket. I think prior week we played here at Lords. I think there was 5 mil on the deck. 5.5, played up in Derby, 8 mil on the deck. Fairly slow track. There was a bit in it if it was in the right areas. But what are your views on hybrid tracks?
Still learning about them, to be honest. They're still quite new, so haven't got too much experience with them. That was a lot slower than we thought it would probably play out. It was very hard wicket with some grass. Generally, when they're hard and grassy, they tend to bounce a little bit more and have a little bit more pace in them. But that was incredibly slow. Yeah. Still learning about them, and I think we're going to continue to learn, because when they're new and you actually get the bit of artificial plastic that comes out of the ground, that plays differently to now. Like, so for example, our experience of that Derby one was that you probably wouldn't have known it was a hybrid unless you were told to start with, because there was none of that sort of plastic coming through. But what they say is it binds the roots better, and that's why they use it. So yeah, I mean, it's still very early days with it, and we're still learning about them.
Absolutely. John, let's have a look at the batting now. Obviously, it was nice to see some runs scored around again. Good to see Eski in the runs. Ghetto, of course. Lias. We'll come on to talk about Lias and his injured foot in a moment, which is disappointing. But talking about the batting, is it a frustration of yours? I know we've spoken before about the frustration around not coming out the blocks quickly enough and missing out on opportunities with the bat in the first innings, perhaps not putting on big enough scores and scoring at a high enough rate. And then obviously we're fighting back in the second half of the game, kind of picking up a bit of a shortfall of the first half of the game. How frustrating is it that that's still evident now? And obviously, are you concerned about scoring rates, and are you concerned about batting points, or is there a bigger picture at play here?
I think it's a bit of both. I think when you play your home games at Lords, traditionally the wickets here aren't wickets you're going to score 500 quickly on. If you're going to get a big score, it is going to take a bit of time, so it can be a little bit slower. I know Carl and the ground staff are working hard to get more bounce and more pace in the wickets, which is brilliant, and we're starting to find that a little bit this year. But in the past, they've been quite hard batting tracks, so sometimes you're happy to get 300 on the board rather than trying to get all the bonus points. And then sometimes when you bat second and the opposition might have got a big score, you've got to weigh up how important it is to get that extra point on a bonus point, at risk of maybe losing a wicket or two trying to get there. But you need to put a big score on the table. So the last game up at Derby, I think you saw the way they scored. They scored very slowly. It wasn't a wicket that you could go in and play a lot of shots on. So yes, look, we as a batting unit know very well that we're a good side and we're a good unit, and we're very confident in each other's abilities. But sometimes it's not easy just to go in and score at a fast rate. If you're playing at Hove, the frustration at the moment, I suppose, there are counties out there that will almost play for the draw first, create wickets that you can always get your maximum points, bonus points on. They get the draw, and they're pushing up the top of the table. And I suppose from our point of view, we haven't got that, and so we've got to find other ways of building our points, which for us is about winning games of cricket. Absolutely. So yeah, there's different ways of doing it, but it's definitely something we look into and we talk about a lot. We also talk about, as a stronger unit as we've only got a couple of hundreds and 15 50s so far this year. So we're competing, but we're still not for the standards that we set and the standards we know that our boys can get to. We should be converting more of those 50s into hundreds and building those partnerships bigger, without doubt.
Absolutely. I mentioned Lias deploy there. Lias obviously got a painful one on the foot up at Derby. I think it was a Yorker from Lewis Rees, I think. I think it probably hit him on a toe that was already injured, so he's not in great shape. I've seen him at training today in a boot. What's the prospect of Lias playing in this one? I guess pretty slim.
Yeah, he won't play in this one. We have made that decision through chats with the medical team. He can play, he can get through this game, with no doubt that can happen, but he had a fracture over the winter. We've had it rescanned. It's not fully healed, and obviously he's been hit again, so we've just sort of taken the long-term view that we want him to be 100% right rather than 75 or 60% right, and that could get worse as the season goes on. So let's let's take the gamble of taking him out for a game and get it right, and then bring him back in as 100% fit. So yeah, he'll miss this one, but he'll be good as gold after this.
Seems like a sensible decision. I have seen Sam Robson back today, fresh from becoming a father.
One in, one out.
One in, one out, absolutely. Well, great to have Sam back. He's obviously that rock at the top of our innings. I assume Sam will slot straight back in.
Yeah, absolutely. He's for us, he's a world-class player. He scores consistently. He's a great influence to have around, and it's great to have him back top of our order, 100%. As a new father and lack of sleep, it would be interesting to see how we go.
Whole new world for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last one for me, Jono. Just touching on the second 11, who are doing good things. Some hands being stuck up there for potential selection, and certainly knocking on the door anyway. Josh DeCaire scoring runs, taking wickets. Luke Holman scoring runs, taking wickets. It's nice to see those boys kind of doing all they can in the second 11. We've talked about selection headaches before and having lots of people vying for those places. I guess it's a nice place to be at.
We've talked probably now this fourth year about creating competition, and the people in the team having to battle hard to stay in it, and the people outside the team putting them under pressure and demanding to be picked. So, we feel we're getting closer and closer to that all the time, and the boys have done brilliantly to push hard for a place. And I think that just filters down throughout the club. It's important to have competition. It's important that when academy players come through, they don't just get a contract and get in our second team. They've got to work hard and be something special to get in our second team. And I think that's, it filters through the whole club, and it's just great to see that, people are starting to put their hands up, and you just want it over a long period of time. You want that consistency and banging on that door. And if any of the boys slip up, they know that there's someone else to come in, and then you've got to work hard to get your place back.
Yeah, for sure. Outstanding. Well, John Kent up next here over the next 4 days. Eyes on revenge?
Revenge, that's a strong word. I thought, as I said at the end of that game, I thought we competed really well through the game. I thought we had the worst of the conditions in that game. And we were, very upset to have lost that game. Yeah. So we bring them to Lords on our pitch, on our home ground. We know how it plays. We know we perform well here. And we'll be looking to, not revenge, we'll be looking to do what we do, play well and try and win the game.
Sounds fair to me. Well, John, all the very best luck, and good luck with that revenge.
Thanks.